Hey, Jacob,
Hey Ryan,
do you live in a house?
I do live in a house.
Have you lived in an apartment?
I mm, I have lived in an apartment in a past life. Yes.
Perhaps you have lived once upon a time in an estate, which is
What?
the next game I'm going to talk about, which is called The Estates. The Estates is designed by Klaus Zock, which is a German name. So again, I apologize for the mispronunciation of these names. I'm going to do my best though. So Klaus Zock is the designer. Artist is Dan Van Pardon. And then it's Thijs. How would you say that? This?
I would say that Tease.
Ties Van Pardon?
Man, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know idea. Anyways, I apologize to both Dan and this.
It's not this.
Not this.
I guess it could be.
This. And publisher is Capstone Games, also published as Simply Complex Games. I think Capstone is doing kind of the North American release, and Simply Complex, I think, is doing the European release. So, The Estates. This was a Capstone Kickstarter done earlier this year. It's now being delivered to backers right now. It was an Essen showcase game. A lot of hype behind this game, and rightfully so. So, in The Estates, you play as a estate mogul, an investor, whatever you want to call yourself, as a man who has a lot of money to burn. Let's just say it that way. And it's 1 to 4 players, perhaps more. 1 to 4, play it at 4. I think it's fun at max level or max player count. It's a lot of fun. You put out this game board, which has kind of split into 2. You have this developmental side, it's a 3x4 grid that has different plots of land that are zoned out that you'll be building upon. And then you have like this river that kind of cuts down the middle. And then you have land that hasn't been zoned yet, that just land that's used for potential buildings that maybe you want to sneak out over the river and build. Then everyone has $12 million in checks, which are kind of funny because each check is written out to a different person. I think those were Kickstarter backers with their own signatures. It's kind of a nice, neat personal touch. I like it a lot.
It's cute.
And then you have colored cubes. You have 36 floor cubes, what they're called. There's, I believe, 5 or 6 colored cubes, all 1 through 6. So there's like 1 through 6 of blue, 1 through 6 through gray, 1 through 6 with red, 1 through 6 with purple, so on and so forth. And what you do is you put 36 of these cubes into a bag, you shake them, you draw out 24, and you lay them out in a 3x8 grid. You then give everybody $12 million, and you lay out these different business cards that we'll talk about here in a second, and you start bidding. There's also some other tokens here too. You have different roadblocks. You have a cancel thing. You have a town hat or a mayor hat, and then you have rooftops that go into this bag. So how this game works, it's really fast, it's very simple, but it's a whole lot of fun. And it gets really cutthroat, it gets very, I was going to say mind screwy, but you're definitely trying to work out how all these different bids and like how this person is going to use this certain cube or roof or whatever is going to happen in a very unique and interesting way. So one person, the first player, will pick something to bid on, whether it be a cube, a roof, a mayor hat, or a roadblock. And they will have the player to the left start bidding. And that player on the left has one chance with how we played, and hopefully that is how it works. They have one chance to put in the starting bid for what that should be. So they'll put in their bid and say $4 million. It goes around the table so that all their players have a chance to bid, and you have to go over their bed, so you can't just all do 5 million and they have to pick. They all have to kind of one up each other. It goes back to the original person who started the whole auction, and they get to decide whether or not the highest bid is worth that much to them, so that that player will pay that person that amount of money, or the person who started the auction pays the highest person to own that block. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so once you win, so like say for instance you have a purple 5, right? A purple 5 means that purple player will get 5 points if that is the highest cube placed on that like plot of land, right? It goes around the table and it bids. Let's just say that the winning bid is $7 million. And for the player that started the auction, that is worth the highest, that's worth $7 million to them. So the person will buy the purple cube. The winner of that auction will then place that in a plot that is zoned correctly. And then it moves on to the next turn, and it keeps going and going and going. To note, these $12 million that you start off with is a closed economy for the most part. There is no entrance of money into the game. Only money can be taken out through the action of embezzling, where you can store on your turn $1 million. That counts as a point towards the end of the game. So the objective of the game is to complete 2 rows of buildings up to the river line, and the uncompleted row is worth negative points to those people that own those colors. So once you actually bid on a color cube, you gain the business card of that cube. So let's say, for instance, in my example, purple won that bid. They would get the purple cube, meaning all those purple cubes are worth points to them. All right. So it goes around, and people will end up owning potentially at least one color or none of them. So it's theoretically possible for someone in the game to not own anything, in which case they're kind of messing with people's, they're kind of having to embezzle to try to at least get points at the end of the game. They won't ever go into the negative, but they have to kind of be this weird mediator in terms of like, if I'm going to pick up something, they need to really pick and choose. If they pick blue, like, you got to really hope that the other players around the table are going to make it worth their while, or they're going to mess people's day up, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it'll go around. And one of the key things too is that in order to complete one of these rows, you need to have 4 cubes in 2 rows up to that river completed with roofs on them. So if you want to bid a roof, you have to go into this roof bag, pick a roof, and be 1 through 6, and then everybody bids on the roof. So once again, when all 4 become complete, or longer due to the roadblocks, the game ends and you score that. So again, you can kind of stack cubes upon other cubes in numerical order. So for instance, if you have a purple 5 as your ground floor, you can stack any color above that, which is 4 or lower. So it kind of can build up that way and that way and that way. So again, if, say, for instance, there's a purple 5, a 3 yellow, and a green 1 would score all those points plus the roof. So it's kind of a push your luck thing in terms of being able to have all those points high, but you would gain then a lot of points or lose a lot of points because, again, the uncompleted row is going to be worth negative points. And again, this goes on, and it goes very fast. It takes about an hour to do a 4-player game. And when I played this with 2 random people and my friend Nick, we just had a blast. Like, people were laughing. There were people that I didn't know that we were kind of like giving the side eye to each other. And, we were just making uproarious comments about just how, oh, you outbid me and you put this here to screw me over, and just like all of this shenanigery. Like, it was such a wonderful bidding game to play.
It sounds amazing. Like, it sounds like the perfect amount of interaction between everyone. And with it playing that quick, and it looks beautiful. I was looking at pictures on a Board Game Geek as you were talking about it, and it just looks like it has awesome table presence. It's not super big, right? It's like
no, it's not big at all. No, it's like a smaller size. Yeah, it's not a big game at all.
It says it's gonna MSRP for $50. Would you pay $50 for it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very nice.
And then, are there plans to go to retail? Do you know?
I think
Have
so.
You heard anything?
I think so. It definitely does not have a U.S. retailer out right now, but I'm presuming, like I said, Capstone is, I believe, the U.S. distributor.
Okay, cool.
I definitely know that Kickstarter people have been receiving their copies, and that it was available in Essen. So again, I think that's why, like Simply Complex does Euro, and Capstone is going to do United States. Very quickly, to go back again, there was some couple other pieces I wanted to make mention. You have these roadblocks that can extend that row. So like, for instance, in this 3x4 grid, again, to complete a row, you have to get 4 in a row with roofs on them. You can expand that by adding a roadblock past the river, so that row would be incomplete. You have to reach up to that roadblock in order to complete that row. So if you're kind of noticing that a row is starting to become complete, someone could pick a roadblock and be able to extend that 1, 2, or 3 spaces, which can definitely lead to some very frustrated people
so
knowing that
mean.
they
I
might
love
have.
it.
Yeah. You can also have a cancel token, and that cancel token will actually get rid of it too.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
and the last thing is the mayor's cap. The mayor's cap can actually be placed on one of those 3 kind of rows to double the points, whether it be negative or whether it be positive, depending on whether it's completed, making for some hilarious end consequences with scoring.
Oh my gosh.
We had someone go negative 18 in one of our games. And so it's just, the Estates is just a really wonderful bidding game. I think it does a lot of things right, and I had a lot of fun with this one. If you see it, I totally recommend you at least get on a game or pick it up if you have other people that like that type of bidding game. Super easy to get it. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this game.
Yeah, it sounds great. Do you think a 2-player game would work well?
See, that's what I've been thinking, and a friend of mine is convinced that it would be good at 2 players. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure if it would, just because how the bidding system works. I think, that you're having to give your opponent, however but it's still like what's kind of random about it is what you're choosing, right? So you don't know what your opponent is choosing. It's not like this random flop of, like, say, high society, right, where you flip over the card, maybe it's not worth anything to you. There's like this element of being able to say, like, I want this to go next, and it's widely available to all players or the other player in a 2-player game. I still think having more players involved is going to be fun for me, but if you're really into bidding games, I still see this working well as a 2-player bidding game.
It looks fantastic. It's like the right amount of pure evil, especially that mayor hat and the roadblock. I think that combination, I think I could see people getting frustrated with that mayor hat where they're working towards their end game so much, and then it just gets kind of screwed over like that, which is just great. I love that. Yeah. I think that's hilarious.
It's awesome. So that's The Estates by Capstone Games. Pick it up. Try it out. It's a great game.